The assistant wrong texted her millionaire boss, rude, and his next day reaction left her shaken. 6 years later, he saw her again, and one message would change everything. The moment Aiden Stone stepped into the executive lobby of Stone and Cole Enterprises, a quiet shift moved through him. Morning light spilled across the marble floors, warm and clean, but none of it softened the weight in his chest. He had returned from a week-long investment summit ready to step straight into meetings, sign documents, and keep his empire moving with the same steady precision he was known for. That was the plan, until he saw her. Emily Lane. She stood at the far end of the lobby, papers pressed gently to her chest, speaking to a junior staff member with her usual calm focus. Her hair was tied back neatly. Her posture was straight. Everything about her seemed composed on the surface, but her eyes told a different story. A strain barely visible to anyone else, except him. Aiden noticed it instantly. He had once been able to understand her without a single word. She turned slightly, reaching to adjust the stack of reports, and that was when he saw it. A faint line along her wrist, hidden beneath the cuff of her blouse. A small cut. Fresh. Subtle. Enough to send a quiet ache through him. For a man who built his life on logic and control, emotion was supposed to be irrelevant. But one look at her was enough to crack a wall he thought was unbreakable. He took a breath. He almost walked toward her. Almost asked if she was all right. Almost let the concern show. Then his phone vibrated. A single message lit up the screen. From Emily Lane message. He is unbelievably rude. Aiden froze. His eyes lifted toward her. Emily was still talking to the junior staff member, unaware of what she had just done. Her phone was tucked beneath her folders. No reaction. No panic. She had not seen the notification. She had not realized who she sent it to. The words echoed through him. Sharp, honest, startling. Before we continue this story, I would like to ask a small favor from you. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our newest videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing more healing and dramatic stories to life. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you so much. Now, let us return to our main character. Aiden stood near the elevators, the message replaying in his mind. He is unbelievably rude. Simple, direct, and painfully sincere. Emily bent down to help the junior staff member reorganize the fallen documents. Even tired, she moved with steady dedication, gentle, thoughtful, careful in all the ways he had come to respect. She handled tasks most assistants would have collapsed under, yet she rarely complained. So what had pushed her to say that? What had he missed? What had she been dealing with alone? The questions pressed against him, quiet but persistent. Unsettling in a way he had not felt in a very long time. He slipped his phone away and took one step toward her. Then another, drawn not by authority, but by something deeper, something he had not allowed himself to feel for years. Emily Lane had just called him rude. Yet somehow, what stunned him more was the truth rising in his chest, slow, undeniable, and unexpectedly gentle. He cared. Aiden Stone had always been a man who chose clarity over confusion and action over hesitation. Yet as he walked toward Emily Lane across the quiet lobby, uncertainty curled through him in a way he could not ignore. Her message echoed with every step. He is unbelievably rude. Not angry, not defensive, just curious. And beneath that curiosity, something warmer, something he had not felt in years. Emily sensed him before she fully turned. When she lifted her gaze, her breath stilled for a heartbeat. Aiden stood just a few steps away, calm in a charcoal suit, his expression unreadable, his presence steady in a way that made her pulse flutter with nerves. "Good morning, Mr. Stone," she said softly, straightening the folders in her arms. She hoped her voice did not betray her exhaustion. "I did not expect you to be back so soon." "I returned ahead of schedule," Aiden replied. His tone held a gentleness she was not used to. "There were things I needed to check personally." Emily nodded, wishing the conversation would end there. She had no idea her world was seconds from collapsing. She still had not looked at her phone. She still did not know what she had sent. Aiden watched her carefully, not with suspicion, not with authority, but with concern, quiet, focused, and unfamiliar even to him. "Emily," he said, his voice low and steady. "Is everything all right?" She stiffened, unsure what he meant. unsure what he already knew. Yes, sir. Everything is fine. I would prefer an honest answer. The words landed softly, but they shook something inside her. Emily had worked under him for months, yet she had never heard him speak in that tone. It felt almost human, almost protective. Before she could gather her thoughts, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, just for a second, and her entire world stopped. Sent message. He is unbelievably rude. To Aiden Stone time, 7:02 a.m. Her heart dropped. Her fingers went numb. The hallway blurred around her as realization sank sharp and deep. He had seen it. He had seen everything. Emily swallowed hard, her voice failing before it formed. I am so sorry, Mr. Stone. It was a mistake. I did not mean to send that to you. I should not have written it at all. Aiden did not cut her off. He simply watched the panic tremble through her hands and the fear she tried so hard to hide. And for the first time, he saw the cost of his silence, the weight of his expectations, the pressure she had been carrying alone. You do not need to apologize, he said quietly. You are allowed to feel frustrated. Even with me. Emily lifted her eyes, stunned. She had braced for anger, for coldness, for losing her job. But instead, he sounded almost gentle. Aiden stepped back slightly, giving her space. If something has been happening here while I was gone, he continued, I want to know. Emily's breath trembled. Her fingers tightened around the folders. She lowered her gaze as though searching for strength she no longer possessed. Mr. Stone, she whispered, voice unsteady, there is something you should see. For a moment, the lobby felt impossibly still. And in that stillness, Aiden understood one thing with undeniable clarity. This was not about a careless message, not about a mistake, not about disrespect. It was the beginning of a truth she had carried alone for far too long, and a truth he should have seen earlier. Emily's fingers tightened around the folders, as if the weight of the paper could steady the tremor running beneath her skin. The mistake from earlier still echoed in her mind, but Aiden's reaction lingered even louder. He had not raised his voice. He had not dismissed her. He had asked for the truth. And now he stood waiting for it. Come with me, Emily murmured. Her voice carried a quiet determination, though her steps wavered slightly as she led him toward the small conference room near the elevators. She pushed the door open, letting him walk in first before closing it gently behind them. The room felt different today, still, muted, almost fragile. Aiden's presence filled the space with a calm intensity that would have once intimidated her. Now, it only heightened her awareness of how much this moment mattered. Emily set the folders on the long table, drew a steadying breath, and opened the first. These are the reports I submitted last week, she said softly. The versions you approved before you left for the summit. Aiden nodded. I remember. She opened a second folder and placed it beside the first. And these, she continued, are the versions uploaded to the internal system. Her voice unsteady, her hands slightly cold. The data has been changed. Aiden lowered his gaze to the documents. At first glance, they matched perfectly, but as he leaned closer, small distortions revealed themselves, shifts so deliberate that only someone meticulous would catch them. A misplaced decimal, a modified supplier note, an authorization missing entirely. Tiny changes. Serious consequences. When did you notice this? He asked quietly. 2 nights ago, Emily said. I stayed after hours because the errors kept appearing in the reports linked to my name. I compared them to the versions I saved on my drive. They were not the same. Aiden lifted his eyes slowly. Why did you not come to me? Emily hesitated. Because I did not want to accuse anyone without proof. And I know I am still new. I did not want to look like I was trying to cause trouble. Aiden exhaled a long, quiet breath. It was not frustration. It was something closer to regret. For months, he had believed the silence in his upper floors meant stability. Now, he began to understand that silence might have been covering something far worse. Who has access to these files? He asked. Senior managers, Emily replied. Including Cole Benson. The name changed something in Aiden's expression, just slightly, but enough for Emily to see it. Cole had been with the company for years. Trusted, present, confident. But in recent months, Aiden had sensed a shift in his behavior. A subtle edge he had chosen to ignore. Not anymore. Aiden folded his arms, his gaze sharpening with measured resolve. Emily, he asked, do you think someone is targeting you? Her shoulders lowered, the truth finally too heavy to hold back. I think someone is altering my work to make me look careless. I have fixed the errors every time they appeared, but they kept coming back. I thought, maybe you were losing trust in me. Aiden's jaw tightened, slowly, quietly, not out of anger toward her, but toward the situation he had allowed to grow. Emily, he said, his tone firm but gentle, I never lost trust in your ability. He paused, meeting her eyes with a sincerity she had never seen in him. But I should have paid closer attention. The words struck her, soft, unexpected, almost healing. Aiden lowered the pages onto the table, his voice steady. This is not an accident, he said. This is deliberate. Silence settled around them, deep, heavy, undeniable. For the first time, the weight Emily had carried alone began to shift. Not away from her, but beside her. Aiden Stone, distant, controlled, unstoppable, was now standing with her at the edge of a truth neither of them could ignore. Together, they had stepped into something darker than a simple workplace mistake, and there was no turning back. The quiet tension inside the conference room thickened, settling like a weight neither of them could ignore. Aiden Stone stood still, eyes fixed on the altered reports spread across the table. Emily Lane remained a few steps back, fingers intertwined tightly, bracing herself for whatever would come next. For a long, heavy moment, the room held its breath. Then Aiden spoke. I'm going to need full access to the document history, he said calmly, too calmly. But beneath the even tone was an edge she had never heard from him before. Every revision, every login, every authorization tied to these files. Emily nodded. I can pull those records. You won't do it alone. His interruption was gentle, but firm. Emily blinked. She had prepared herself to handle this quietly, to endure the blame alone the way she had for weeks. Hearing Aiden share the burden loosened something deep inside her, something she hadn't let herself acknowledge. Aiden rested one hand lightly against the papers, grounding himself. Someone has been counting on you staying silent, he said. Emily's eyes dropped. It was easier to blame myself than to assume someone would sabotage my work. That ends today. Aiden gathered the two sets of reports, aligned them sharply, and stepped back from the table. We're going to see Morgan Hayes, he continued. He has access to the system archives. Emily swallowed. Should we go now? Yes. Before anyone has time to cover their tracks. They left the conference room together. The hallway outside felt longer than usual, the click of their footsteps echoing against glass and marble. Emily kept her gaze forward, but she could feel the curious stares from passing employees. Everyone sensing the tension without understanding its weight. When they reached Morgan's office, Aiden knocked once before stepping inside. Morgan looked up, startled. Mr. Stone. Emily. Is everything all right? We need the revision logs for last week's financial summaries, Aiden said, his tone low but precise. Metadata. System edits. User history. Morgan straightened. That's extensive. Did something happen? There are discrepancies, Aiden replied. We need to find out why. Morgan nodded and pivoted to his keyboard. Lines of code and system logs scrolled across the screen. Emily stood quietly beside Aiden, watching each timestamp flicker past, her saved versions, system updates, edited copies. Every one of them a piece of the puzzle she hadn't been able to solve alone. After a few minutes, Morgan's fingers froze. I found something. Aiden stepped closer. Show me. Morgan enlarged several entries. Emily's original files appeared, timestamped at the late hours she remembered. But moments later, second versions appeared, edited by a different user. The name on the screen was unmistakable. Cole Benson. Emily felt her breath falter. She had suspected it, but seeing it in clean digital ink sent a cold shiver through her. Morgan scrolled deeper. He accessed your files multiple times, he said. Some edits were after midnight. Others right before sunrise. All using his personal authorization code. Aiden's jaw tightened. He didn't have clearance to modify these. He did it anyway, Morgan replied. And he tried to scrub the logs. Not well enough. Aiden's expression shifted, controlled fury simmering just beneath the calm exterior he always maintained. This isn't negligence, he said quietly. This is intentional. Emily pressed a hand lightly to her chest, steadying her breath. What happens now? Aiden turned toward her, eyes steady, voice deeper than before, decisive, unwavering. Now, he said, we follow this to the end. A beat. And we expose everything Cole Benson has been hiding. Emily nodded slowly, realizing something she had not seen clearly until now. Aiden wasn't just helping her. He was stepping into a fight he should have confronted long ago. And from this moment forward, there was no turning back for either of them. White Medium Star Part 5, LF 2.0 Rewrite, is almost equal to 600 words. The walk back from the analytics office felt heavier than the walk-in. Emily Lane moved beside Aiden Stone without speaking, her thoughts flickering between relief and dread. Relief, because the truth had finally surfaced. Dread, because the truth pointed straight at a man powerful enough to bury her career without leaving a trace. Halfway down the corridor, Aiden slowed. His expression shifted, quiet, controlled, but there was a gravity in his eyes Emily had never seen before. "Emily," he said, voice low, "how long has this been happening?" She hesitated. Then she answered honestly. "A few months." Aiden stopped walking. Emily took an extra step before realizing he had halted. When she turned, his gaze locked on hers, not cold, not sharp, but stunned. Hurt, almost. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked. Emily drew a small breath. "Because I thought it was my fault. Every time there was an error, I convinced myself I must have missed something. That maybe I wasn't good enough. That maybe," her voice softened, "I didn't belong here." The words hung between them like a painful truth finally spoken out loud. Aiden's expression tightened, not with anger at her, but at himself. "You should never have felt that way," he said quietly. "Not for 1 second. Emily looked away, unsure how to hold the intensity of his sincerity. Aiden continued, softer this time. "You carried all of this alone while someone else rewrote your work. You stayed late, fixed problems that weren't yours, endured pressure no one should shoulder alone." He paused. "And I let it happen. I should have seen it." "You didn't know?" she whispered. "That's not an excuse." His voice wasn't harsh. It was steady, measured, and beneath it, there was something like regret. Real, earned, quietly painful. For a moment, the hallway fell silent, and something shifted between them, subtle, but unmistakable. This wasn't just about spreadsheets or revisions anymore. This was about trust, and finally seeing each other clearly. Emily inhaled. "What do we do now?" Aiden turned slightly, grounding himself before speaking. "We expose Cole Benson, but we move carefully. The moment he realizes we know, he'll start erasing everything." Emily blinked. "We?" "Yes." Aiden didn't hesitate. "This is not your battle alone." The steadiness in his tone hit her harder than any apology ever could. She had spent months feeling unseen, unheard, replaceable. Now the man she once believed lived only for numbers and meetings was standing beside her, with fierce, quiet clarity. "Thank you," she whispered. Aiden shook his head. "No, Emily, I owe you an apology." She stared at him. "For what?" "For not noticing sooner," he said. "For letting you think your work didn't matter. For allowing anyone, especially Cole, to make you doubt yourself." His voice dipped, soft but unwavering. "That won't happen again." Emily's chest tightened. She hadn't expected this. Not from him. Not today. Not ever. Aiden stepped a little closer, still respectful distance, but enough for the air between them to shift. "From now on," he said, "if someone tries to sabotage you, I want to know. If something feels wrong, I want to know. If you're overwhelmed, you tell me." His eyes held hers. "Understood." Emily nodded. "Yes, understood." Aiden held her gaze 1 second longer than necessary, something unspoken passing between them, before he turned down the hallway again. "Come," he said. "There's more we need to uncover." Emily followed. The fear was still there. The uncertainty still lingered. But for the first time since she'd joined Stone and Cole, she didn't feel alone. Aiden Stone had stepped into the storm with her. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The rest of the morning moved quickly, almost too quickly. Emily Lane crossed the office floors with a different kind of focus, pulling reports, reviewing timestamps, and gathering proof one file at a time. Meanwhile, Aiden Stone kept the circle small, coordinating with compliance in short, quiet conversations behind closed doors. And with every layer they uncovered, the pattern grew worse. Cole Benson hadn't touched just one project. He had altered several, each edit pushing money toward the same questionable vendors. By noon, they met again in Aiden's private office. Emily set a stack of documents on his desk. Her hands were steady now, though her pulse was. "Anything but. These are the revisions from the last quarter," she said. The structure is the same. Same numbers shifted. Same vendor changes. Same overwritten notes. Aiden lifted the pages. His expression hardened, controlled, focused, but his gaze flicked back to her with something far more personal. You found all this alone? Emily nodded. I only knew something felt wrong. I didn't know where to start until today. Aiden leaned back slightly, studying her with a look she couldn't quite decipher. Not judgment. Not the distant appraisal he normally gave people. Something warmer. Something like respect. You're thorough, he said quietly, and sharper than half the senior analysts here. Emily lowered her eyes, feeling her face warm. Praise from him was rare. Praise spoken gently was almost disarming. Aiden stood, walking around the desk until he was beside her. Emily, he said, tone softer than she'd ever heard from him. You should not have endured this alone. I should have noticed the strain. I should have asked questions. You run an entire company, she replied carefully. You can't see everything. He shook his head. That's still not an excuse. A beat. I should have seen you. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Emily's breath caught. Her eyes lifted to his. For a moment, just a breath, something real flickered between them. Something too honest, too unguarded, too dangerous to acknowledge out loud. A sudden knock broke the moment. Aiden didn't look away immediately. When he finally did, his voice returned to its controlled calm. Come in. A junior analyst entered timidly. Mr. Stone, the network access logs you requested. Aiden accepted the file, offering a brief nod before the door closed again. He opened the folder, and the faint calm in his face vanished. He accessed the server again last night. Aiden murmured. Cole is still altering documents. Emily stiffened. Then he suspects something. He suspects, Aiden agreed, eyes darkening. But he doesn't know how much we've found. And he doesn't know we're moving now. Emily exhaled shakily. If he realizes I'm involved, he won't touch you. Aiden didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The quiet certainty was stronger than any threat. For the first time since this began, Emily felt the fear loosen its grip on her chest. Aiden continued. We'll call for an internal audit tomorrow morning. No warning. No time for him to erase anything. Emily straightened. Then I'll prepare all the files. You won't prepare them alone, Aiden said. From this point forward, we do this together. Her heart reacted before her mind did. An unexpected, warm jolt she almost tried to hide. She had spent months feeling small, invisible, replaceable. But now, the one man she thought would never notice her had chosen to stand on her side. Aiden moved back to his desk, gathering the evidence. Today we finalize everything. Tonight we prepare. Tomorrow, his voice tightened. Tomorrow we end this. Emily gathered her reports, but she wasn't the same woman she'd been that morning. Fear was still there. Uncertainty too. But something steadier rose above it all. For the first time, she believed Aiden when he said she wasn't alone. And deep down, she sensed a truth neither of them was ready to say out loud. He wasn't just protecting a member of his staff. He was protecting her. Morning arrived heavy and quiet, the kind of quiet that felt like a warning. Stone and Cole Enterprises moved in its usual rhythm. Phones ringing, printers humming, but beneath it all was a tension no one could name. The internal audit review was set for 9 sharp, and everyone felt it. Emily Lane stepped off the elevator clutching a folder so tightly her knuckles ached. She had barely slept, her mind circling the same fear again and again. What if I ruin everything? What if Aiden regrets standing with me? When she pushed open the door to Aiden Stone's office, he was already there. Focused. Steady. Waiting. Are you ready? He asked. Emily nodded, or tried to. Yes. Her voice betrayed the truth she couldn't hide. Aiden closed the file in front of him. Stay close in the meeting. I'll speak. You won't stand alone in this. Just like that, her breathing steadied. Just like that, fear loosened its grip. 8:57 a.m. The conference room, the doors opened, revealing the full audit committee, compliance, and senior managers. And at the center, Cole Benson. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, wearing a smile that wasn't a smile at all. Mr. Stone, Cole said smoothly. Quite a crowd today. You'll understand why, Aiden replied, taking his seat. The review began with routine numbers, projections, variances. Then everything shifted. Aiden turned to Emily. Please distribute the documents. Her hands trembled, but she stepped forward. Cole's gaze followed her, with a cruel, quiet curiosity, like he already knew what was coming. When everyone had the folders, Aiden spoke. You'll see two versions of each financial report. The original files Emily created, and the altered versions uploaded under another user's credentials. Cole let out a soft laugh. Are we accusing someone today? Aiden didn't flinch. We're presenting facts. Cole flipped through a few pages, raised an eyebrow, and leaned back. You have no proof these edits were malicious. System glitches happen. Assistants make mistakes. It's common. Emily swallowed hard. Aiden kept his tone even. The authorization logs show your code. Cole shrugged lightly. Codes get shared, Aiden. Borrowed. Or misused. Anyone could have done it. A calculated move. A dangerous one. Then he delivered the sentence that shattered the room. And let's not ignore the obvious. You've taken a very personal interest in your assistant. People are talking. Perhaps this investigation is less about data and more about protecting someone you favor. The words were a blade. Cold. Precise. Deliberate. Emily froze. Aiden's eyes darkened. This is about integrity. Nothing more. But Cole wasn't finished. Or perhaps, he said, glancing toward her, your assistant has been manipulating you. It wouldn't be the first time someone used sympathy to climb higher. The room shifted. Breaths caught. Chairs creaked. Whispers stirred without a sound. Emily felt the blood drain from her face. Her vision blurred. A wave of humiliation rose so fast she couldn't breathe. Aiden stood abruptly. That's enough, Cole. But the damage was already done. Emily felt every stare in the room burning into her skin. Every doubt. Every silent judgment. Everything she had fought so hard to protect collapsing at her feet. She gathered her papers with shaking hands. She didn't even remember standing. I think I should leave, she whispered. Aiden reached out, instinctive, unguarded. Emily, but she had already stepped back. Already turning. Already walking toward the door like the air itself was pushing her out. Because in that moment, she wasn't afraid of Cole. She wasn't even afraid of losing her job. She was afraid of disappointing the one person who had finally believed her. And that fear hurt more than anything Cole Benson could have done. Aiden watched helplessly as she slipped out of the room, and he realized that for the first time since this began, he was the one who couldn't breathe. Emily Lane did not remember how she reached the end of the hallway. She only knew she needed to escape the suffocating tension of that conference room, the stairs, the shock, the quiet disbelief. She pushed open the balcony door and stepped into the cold morning air, letting the wind settle the ache rising in her chest. She pressed her palms to the railing and breathed deeply. She had survived difficult moments before, but never one where her honesty left her standing so exposed, so unguarded. Inside, Aiden Stone stood still for a long second after she left. A muscle in his jaw tightened before he turned toward the audit team. This review is not over, he said calmly. We will resume in 10 minutes. He walked out before anyone could respond. When he stepped onto the balcony, Emily did not turn, but he saw the way her shoulders lifted in tension, the way she braced herself. Emily, Aiden said softly. I should not have been there, she whispered. I made everything worse. That is not true. It felt true, she said, her voice unsteady. Cole made it sound like I used you, like everything I said was a way to gain your favor. That is not who I am. I know exactly who you are, Aiden replied gently. Emily shook her head as tears gathered along her lashes. But they do not. And I cannot fight a room full of people already willing to believe the worst. Emily, Aiden said quietly, look at me. She hesitated before turning. The vulnerability in her eyes pulled at something deep inside him. What Cole said was meant to shake you, Aiden said. He said it because your truth threatens him. You were the only one in that room holding on to honesty. That takes strength, not weakness. Emily swallowed. Then why did it feel like I was losing? Because he wanted you to feel that way, Aiden replied. But feeling overwhelmed does not mean you were wrong. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the folder Morgan Hayes had given earlier. There is something you have not seen yet. Aiden opened it, revealing a sequence of shadow logs, entries time-stamped just before dawn. Cole had attempted to delete reports, vendor contracts, and earlier financial notes. Emily's breath caught. So he really was trying to hide everything. Yes, Aiden said. And every attempt created an automatic shadow log. Even what he tried to erase ended up revealing more. Emily stared at the pages, the realization settling slowly, tenderly. This proves everything. It does, Aiden said. And it shows how far he has gone. She exhaled a soft, wavering breath. Hope, fragile, but real, began to form inside her. The very thing Cole tried to bury had become the clearest path to the truth. Aiden closed the folder and met her eyes again. I'm going back into that room, and I will make sure everyone understands exactly what has been happening. Emily shook her head weakly. I cannot go back in there. You do not have to, he said gently. Let me speak for both of us. Emily lowered her gaze to her hands. Why are you doing this? Aiden paused, not to search for an answer, but because the truth mattered now. Because you deserved better than what you have carried, he said. Because you trusted me when you were scared. And because I should have seen you long before this moment. Emily felt something warm rise in her chest. Unexpected, steady, grounding. Aiden stepped back toward the door. Stay here. I will take care of what comes next. And Cole? She asked quietly. Aiden's voice softened, steady but not harsh. The truth will reach him, whether he is ready or not. Then he stepped inside, leaving Emily on the balcony as the wind brushed gently across her shoulders. Inside, the truth was waiting. And for the first time today, she was no longer afraid of it. The conference room fell into a quiet heaviness the moment Aiden Stone returned. Every executive straightened. Papers stilled. Even the air seemed to wait. Cole Benson lifted his chin with practiced confidence. He looked like a man certain the storm had already passed him. Aiden set the folder of shadow logs on the table, his movements calm, deliberate. We will continue, he said. The audit director adjusted his glasses. Mr. Stone, please proceed with your findings. Aiden opened the folder and slid the top page toward the center. These, he said, are system shadow logs recorded early this morning. They show every attempt to alter or erase financial data linked to the vendor accounts under review. Cole scoffed lightly. Many people access those files. That proves nothing. Aiden turned another page around so the entire room could see. These entries are time-stamped at 4 a.m. Every action is tied to your user ID, and every edit originated from your company-issued laptop. Cole's confidence wavered, but Aiden remained steady. The system recorded attempts to overwrite Emily Lane's original submissions. It recorded the deleted vendor contracts. And it recorded your midnight revisions for the last 3 quarters. A murmur rippled through the table. Cole straightened sharply. My code could have been used by anyone. The logs also include your device hardware signature. Aiden replied, voice calm but firm. And your keycard entry at 3:45 a.m. The room froze. A senior manager exchanged a glance with the compliance director, an expression that quietly shifted the ground beneath Cole's feet. Cole opened his mouth, searching for an explanation. This is a misunderstanding. Someone is framing me. Aiden's voice lowered, the edge gone, replaced by quiet clarity. No one framed you. The evidence shows months of manipulation. You used Emily Lane's name as cover to hide discrepancies you created. The word created settled with undeniable weight. The compliance director closed the folder with finality. Cole Benson, you are suspended effective immediately pending a full investigation. Security entered. Cole's face went pale, but he said nothing as he was escorted out. The silence he left behind was different from the one before. Lighter, clearer, almost cleansing. Aiden addressed the room, his tone steady but warm. Before we conclude, I want to make something clear. Emily Lane acted with integrity. She corrected errors she did not create. She carried blame she did not deserve. And she remained committed to the truth, even when she stood alone. A few executives lowered their eyes, some with guilt, some with respect. Aiden closed the meeting quietly. We move forward with transparency. When the room emptied, he stepped into the hallway and headed toward the balcony. His pace quickened for the first time that day. He found Emily exactly where he had left her, hands on the railing, the morning light settling softly around her, as though the world had paused to make space for her breath. He approached gently. It is finished. Emily turned, searching his expression. What happened? Cole is suspended, Aiden said. They saw the truth. Her shoulders dropped, relief flooding through her. I did not think anyone would believe me. I believed you, Aiden said softly. Even before the proof. Her breath caught. I should have told you that sooner, he added. Emily looked down, trying to steady her voice. Thank you for standing up for me. Aiden nodded once, then stepped closer, slowly, giving her space. Emily, I did not stand up for you because of duty. I stood up for you because what happened to you was wrong. And because somewhere along the way, I began to care. Not just about your work. About you. Her heart tightened. Full, warm, unsteady. Aiden. He reached for her hand. Gently, giving her time to decide. She did not pull away. I would like to start again, he said. Not as CEO and assistant. Not with fear or distance. But with honesty. With clarity. With room for whatever this could become. Emily felt something inside her finally ease. The fear. The doubt. The loneliness she had carried for months. All of it softened. She stepped closer, her voice barely above a breath. Then let us move forward together. For the first time, the weight lifted from both of them. Not because the path had been easy, but because they had reached the end of it side by side and found something real waiting there. Thank you for spending this moment with us. If today's story gave you even a little warmth, please hit subscribe and turn on the bell. It helps us bring more healing stories to you. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what part touched your heart the most? I'm always reading, and I'm grateful you're here.